By 2050, 1 in 4 Kiwis will be over 65. And that's just not the gray hair. That is an economic shaker. We're breaking down why this isn't a future problem, why it's already unfolding.
We are back in your life, and today we are talking about NZ's aging population. Mike, we all age. It's one of life's guarantees, right up there with taxes and awkward small talk at the family barbecue. Do you...
My small talk at the family barbecue is not awkward. It's quality chat.
Well, what are your go-tos?
Oh, anything. Yeah, it depends on the person,
Surely
right?
mortgage rates. Surely people want to talk about mortgage rates.
No, avoid that. I tell you what, my family barbecue small talk chat is awkward if they're like under, like, I don't know, 16 or 15, because I can't relate to any of them. You know what I mean? I'm like, I remember the other day when I had my braces and my like little cousin had Invisalign. So I was like, oh, I've got Invisalign. And she looked at me and she was like, don't ever talk to me again. I was like, cool, thanks. Like, yeah.
I love those moments because you think you're so cool. And then like...
And I was like, they're Invisaligns. I was trying to like not be cool, you know? Like, and boy did I win at that.
Yeah, wow. Do you know what else isn't cool, Mike? When your whole population ages at once.
Yeah.
So when an entire country starts aging at once, the impact goes well beyond just some gray hairs, and then hopefully you retain your hairs. So by 2050, Mike, nearly 1 in 4 Kiwis will be over 65. That's a massive demographic shift.
Yeah, look, James, and this, you know, yes, this is a future problem, but it's happening now. You know, we are shifting into those older demographics, and we do have an aging population. The real reason why this is going to cause an issue is your income generating portion of the population shrinks, and the portion of the population that is taking up more expenses, i.e. healthcare, aged care, retirement living, superannuation, that is going to increase, right? Someone's got to pay for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so yeah, like you said, people are living longer. At the same time, the other problem on the flip side is the birth rate. So less and less people are having kids, they're having them later, which means that we do have statistically fewer Kiwis that are going to prop this all up.
Yeah, look, to be honest, mate, you're the only one in this room that's propping it up for the country.
Yeah. I'm doing my part. Yeah. Well, they say have one for mum, have one for dad, and then have one for the country. Was it? I think that was a line in Australia for a while. Trying to like kind of up the birth rate.
One for mum, one for dad, one for Kevin 07.
Yeah, I was going to say John Howard. It depends. Yeah, I tell you what, those eyebrows, lush.
Yeah.
So NZ's tax system is heavily reliant on income and GST. Mike, 88% of the government's revenue come from those sources, both of which are obviously going to decline when you got less people earning money.
Yeah, and then you increase the tax on everyone else to pay for it. Nah, there's got to be a way around it, right? Like you cannot just keep increasing taxes on people, because effectively what will happen is people will go, you know what? I don't have to be here. I can be somewhere else.
I want to hang out with the young people.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I think that, you know, you can prop it up to a degree through immigration, right? Like you can import people to plug that gap, or you can make some fundamental changes around what we're doing in society to try and plug that gap as well.
Another question for you that's completely unrelated. So we're mid-30s, right? We're talking about an aging population. Yes. And it's like, where's this going?
Yeah.
How long do you think you're going to live for? Outside of your lifestyle choices, like how long do you think people our age on average are going to live for?
I think you meant me specifically. I was like, I'll be lucky to at 40.
You're like 36, maybe 37?
Yeah. I reckon, I don't think there'll be a dramatic shift in our life expectancy.
You don't think so?
No, not us. I think probably not him. You're the same gen as us. I think not Gen Zs, but the one after that, they will have a much longer life expectancy.
Surely like AI is going to... I mean, if you think about...
AI is not going to do anything. AI is going to be able to order you a pizza and that's it. AI is not going to do jack. It's a language model.
I'll tell you what, though, double spicy pep, though, hits the spot.
And do you know what? Too many of those double spicy peps ordered by AI is going to shrink your life expectancy.
Yeah, but it'll be a happy life. Let's move on. So some of the implications of a aging population. First one, Mike, slower economic growth with fewer workers. Obviously, GDP slows a lot more. Wage increases become harder to sustain.
That is correct, right? And that's what we talked about. It's like your GDP, your output, that's what pays for a lot of things by the government, right? It's your taxes, sales, etc. If you've got more spenders than earners, we know this, right? We know what happens eventually. That bank balance runs out and then it goes into deficit. And then as the deficit increases, the problem compounds because you have to take money that the smaller percentage of workers are making and use that for debt servicing costs. You're starting to see that in the States where their debt servicing costs are getting ridiculous or starting to get a bit ridiculous, right? Everyone's going, you're going broke. So it's one of those things where without some kind of intervention or a change in the course of what we're doing, the future does look pretty bleak for spending.
Yeah. The other piece I think about, which I think is a real problem in Australia, is as you have an aging population, a lot of people want to stay in their homes for longer. And I think there's some stats in Australia around say 4-bedroom houses. There's only 1 and 2 people living in a lot of those homes, which does create some interesting dynamics within the property market as well.
You flat share.
All the elders together.
Yeah, get them all in. When you flat share when you're younger, it's fun. Why don't you do it at the other end?
It's kind of like with retirement villages that, you look at me and you go, there's a few greys starting to come through down here. I need to trim this bad boy up. But when it comes, I know a lot about retirement villages and it's kind of like you want the oldies to be together, especially the single ones, because to have that kind of camaraderie and enjoyment together.
Quite often as well, in my experience with retirement homes, my own family, they go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. And they get there and they're like, crap, I wish I did this earlier, because there is that sense of community.
Mike, I want to talk a little bit about the strain on the public service, because the more I think about it, the more I'm like, how is this ever going to work? Where if you've got, people that are aging, they're going to have more and more people that are going to need hospital treatment. You think about the impact on health insurance premiums, all of, superannuation, all of these really big chunky expenses. That doesn't seem like it's going to end well for us.
I think this isn't just the New Zealand problem, though, is what you got to remember. A lot of other countries are having this, Japan being the really obvious example. And I think the question is yes, there's going to be more pressure on public services. Yes, health, everything. Tax. But what are the things we can do about it early to start changing the course, right? We can see the car crash coming. Why don't we try and change the course somehow?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting question, which I don't know if we're smart enough to answer, but we're going to try, and we're going to do it after this break. So we run a webinar every fortnight on a whole range of topics, from buying your first home to insurance, KiwiSaver, planning for retirement. If you want to take control of your future and interact with Mike and I live on our next webinar, click the link below. Now, back to the episode. Mike, I know we just ran that ad for our webinars, which everybody should check out. It does make me think about the first webinar that I did. Have I told you this story?
Go on.
So it just shows the first ones you do, you just got to keep going. We ran ads for a webinar. One person turned up and I was like, hey, mate, it's just you and me. So if you got any questions, I could just answer them. And he didn't respond. And I was like, what's, are you there? Anyway, he unmutes himself. He's like, and he's like, I'm on a treadmill. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I can just give you my phone number and you can call me tomorrow. So anyway, now we get 250 people coming along to these things, which is really cool. We get 45,000 downloads a month on the podcast. So thank you for everybody I don't know if I could keep going if it was just one dude on a treadmill.
Do you know the best? I was late to this recording session because someone called me and started with, they're not a customer, he was asking me some questions. And he started with, I listened to the podcast, absolutely love it. You guys look like you're really switched on and smart. And I was like, go on, then I'll be late to the session.
You're a horrible judge of character, but I'll listen to you.
But thank you, Brad. I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah. So, Mike, let's jump back into everybody's getting old.
Yep.
The question. So there's a lot of problems in here. You chuck your economist hat on from time to time. What the hell are we gonna do?
I think that's the thing. When you say chuck your economist hat on, an economist can answer this really quickly, and cigarettes is not a bad answer from an economist perspective. The issue is that there's social aspects you've got to consider as well, right? And Em's shaking her head at me. If you look at the numbers, put this in abstract, right? I'm just talking about this as a concept. If you look at the numbers, cigarettes pay for themselves over and over again, right? There's huge taxes on them. Most people smoke during the most productive years of their life, and then they die early. So they aren't draining the system through medical bills to superannuation. So if you ask me from a pure economics perspective, that would be my answer. Yes, you cannot answer from a pure economics perspective. So we'll put some other put your hand. What do you want to ask?
They say 50 is the new 30. Is the whole like people retiring at 65, has that all need to be reshaped? Like if we're all going to like slowly live longer, we look, younger for longer, is the whole game changing?
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think we should just be like, the government's made some poor decisions with like fiscal policy and their spending, and all of a sudden you now have to work another 5 years. Like, I don't think that should be the case at all.
But I'm saying if people are going to live longer, like how long do you
Why should you have to work longer? Why shouldn't you? Like, you and I enjoy working.
That's what I'm thinking.
But not everyone enjoys working. It's something they do just to like get money to live. So like, no,
what
I don't think
sad
you
existence.
for us. I don't think you should just like force people to work longer because the government's made some crappy decisions. Like, I don't agree with that at all. Yeah.
But I'm not really saying it's about crappy decisions. I'm just going that the amount of time people are retired for until they die is getting longer.
Great.
So people should just be retired for longer.
Why not?
I think it's a lot about purpose, running out of money.
You can have a purpose that's not working. You can have a purpose around like volunteering, around your family, around community without having to work. I don't think just telling people they have to work long should be the default answer.
Okay, Mike. So I'm trying to think outside the box. You've just told me cigarettes.
How would you do it? You would implement better tax systems than you currently have, right? You would get...
better is not more, is it?
You would get corporations to pay tax instead of avoiding it. You would probably rejig the tax system so they're a little bit fairer or a little bit more useful to people. Like instead of... We've talked about it before. There's a 10 grand tax-free threshold or something. Jam all that at the start of your life when you actually need it so you can get a running start instead of starting on the back foot. You could implement KiwiSaver reform so that our KiwiSaver, our superannuation, is better off for our Kiwis. You could make, outside of the box thinking like we talked about before. Instead of just having the official cash rate, you could use compulsory KiwiSaver contributions as well. If you increase those, takes money out of people's pockets, stop spending. But instead of just recycling it back into the government, they have that for later in life. Mate, there is 1,000 different ways you could make this work. But just saying people have to work longer, I don't buy that.
Do you know what I worry about? At some point, they're going to be like, well, there's less people working. We need to hit our same tax revenue numbers. We're going to tax the percentage, the people that are still working. And eventually people turn around and be like, screw this, I'm going to go somewhere else.
100%. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think that people are smart enough to come up with some reasonable ideas. The real issue here around this is not that people aren't smart enough, and it's not that people don't have the ideas. It's that the people making the decisions are just primarily concerned with getting elected for another 4 years. They'll never do anything outside of the box, right? So I think that is probably the problem that needs to be solved at the heart of this.
It's a complicated topic.
It's pretty straightforward. I think you can make it complex. And I think one of the other key things that people do if they don't want to change stuff is go, oh, look, it's really complicated. I don't think it's really complicated.
But you said a bunch of stuff.
There's some pretty straightforward things you can do that don't have to be as extreme as what I'm saying, which I don't even think are particularly extreme. That if you weren't just focused on getting re-elected would make a ton of sense. You just do them. People are fairly rational and, they'll do whatever you pay them to do. These people get paid to get re-elected, so that's what they'll do.
What about when it comes to New Zealand superannuation, like whether it should be, I don't know, like when we talk about means testing, changing the age, any thoughts there?
I don't have enough data on it to have any real thoughts about it. Like, yep, means testing is probably a great idea. But is it going to save us any real money, right? Is the cost of implementing means testing, if we save 2 million a year, like, okay, that's exciting. Like, I just don't know how much we would actually save off that. So, yep, I think means testing is great. So long as, like anything else, when you introduce complexity into these type of like tax systems or something, it's not just rich people getting around it because they can afford to get around it. And is the juice worth the squeeze, basically? But I think some reform around that is probably definitely needed. It would just need to make sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, the main thing I would say is while this is a problem and it's not going to go away anytime soon, the question is, what should you do about it? And the answer is very simple. Control the controllables. Don't focus on all of these things that you can't control. Focus on your retirement plan. What are the goals you're working towards? What is your strategy to get there? The other thing I see some people stuff up, Mike, is they go, well, I'm going to work till 70 anyway, so it's going to be sweet. But like, obviously, some people can't work till they're 70 because of health issues and those sort of things. So make sure that even if you enjoy working, that you are working towards financial freedom at a reasonable age.
Yeah. And, part of this all starts, like if you've got kids and you're worried about this for your kids, part of this starts with education, right? Like fundamentally, if you start educating your kids really early on this stuff, they're probably not going to have to worry about retirement because they will be making the right decisions as they move through their life. Putting everything else aside that I've rambled on about, like I genuinely think that's probably one of the things that could really fix this, right? Is the education piece.
Cool. So a lot to work through there. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Much love to Lighthouse Financial for sponsoring this episode. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us a review. Give us a like. And we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.